of organization you are, but also for home users. This is a topic that impacts everybody, and it's really important to be conscious of that, be vigilant of how you're managing your data and taking steps to protect your data.
Before we get into all of the nitty-gritty details, tell us a bit about yourself and a bit about your background. I believe that you're very much an expert when it comes to cybersecurity. You've been doing it all of your career.
So I started my career after graduating in business management, working in consulting. So I worked at Accenture and then at Deloitte for a total of 15 years. And my experience as a technology consultant focused primarily around cybersecurity. So over the years, I've defined, led, and delivered many projects help organizations such as banks, stock exchanges, insurance firms, pharmaceuticals, all different sectors, to help them to make sure they've got the right cybersecurity in place, to help them to protect their organization, to protect their brand, protect their data, and of course, protect the people as well. Using that background I've got, and more recently, I took my steps into the entrepreneur side. And working with Asad and the team here at Click, we're focused on helping scaling businesses to make sure that they've got the right technology that they need, secure, it's what they need to do their work, and of course, keeping in mind cybersecurity as well. And the importance of what Click is doing is very much driven by keeping sustainability and taking the greener choices when you're defining your technology.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot that... Well, firstly, having that much expertise in this area means that you're perfectly positioned to be able to talk about this topic, Zahid. I'd love to understand a bit more about, from an individual perspective, and not so large scale, but from a more individual and small organization perspective, what are the common cybersecurity threats that they face today?
There's a number of things to keep in mind with regards to the threats. And, as we said, it's important for every single person to keep this in mind. Even as a home user, anyone with a device, anyone with data needs to keep these things in mind. Some of the threats to think about would be around email-based threats. A lot of them come through email. So often you see spam, you see malware. Some of this can turn into being, links, whether it's to documents, whether it's to videos. Whenever you see something that looks suspicious, if you're not sure, don't open the links, don't open the attachment. So email is a big place. The other one to think about also is data theft and information theft. Everyone has something that somebody out there is motivated enough to get access to it, whether it's your financial information, banking information, it's to do with your address, it's to do with your family, your spending habits, access to your accounts, your online accounts, whatever it might be. Someone somewhere will be motivated to get it. So it's around thinking about what information do I have and what steps am I taking to protect it. And the thing to keep in mind is that these threats are vast. The hackers, the cyber criminals are hugely motivated, whether it's financial or political or to cause disruption, to get access to it. So, and at times maybe the risk is heightened, perhaps to do with geopolitical or other reasons.
Right. So when it comes to our devices, you mentioned our devices and being aware of certain emails. Something that comes up, and again, you're talking to a very much a novice in this area. I don't really know much about cybersecurity, but when you see things like encryption, it does start to make you think, okay, should I take this a bit more seriously? So what does encryption actually mean, and how is it used to safeguard sensitive data?
That's a great question and a good place to start. In simple form, encryption is a way of scrambling data. How do I mask the data? How do I protect the data? So what encryption will do is it'll take the data, whether that's words, it's numbers, it's text, it's a document, whatever it might be, and it will, in the simpler way, it will scramble the data and turn it into something else. When the recipient, let's say it's being sent over email, receives the data, they then need to turn it into the form that the sender was transmitting it in. They need to have the ability to unlock the data, and that could be via password, it could be a cryptographic key, so it could be encryption to decipher what the data in its original form was supposed to say. So from going from point A to point B, encrypting the data is a form of keeping the data secure, accurate, whilst it's being transmitted and being stored.
So then scaling this up then, I'm sure that many different people who are watching the show might have small businesses that they might think, actually, you know what, I need to safeguard the cyber security aspect of my business. How can small and medium-sized kind of enterprises or even individuals improve their cyber security with limited resources that they have?
That's a great question. And, I took the knowledge I have of working with the larger organizations, and what we focus on doing is helping, as you described, some of the smaller organizations, and being conscious of that sometimes budgets can be limited, resources can be limited. The first piece of advice I'd give is you've got to do something. You can't stand still. You can't ignore it. It's there. The second thing I'll say is that I like taking the approach that cybersecurity is there to enable your business, is there to help your business, and there's opportunities that you can get by doing some simple things. I like to talk about it just doing the hygiene things, making sure you've got the right passwords in place, that passwords are secure. You're using email effectively. You're not using the same password for every single system and tool. You're patching your devices to keep them up to date. Another key thing to think about is making sure that yourself as a business owner and the team working with you and also your other stakeholders, perhaps let's say suppliers, are also cyber savvy. They understand the threats. They're keeping up to date with what the news is, what are the things out there to be concerned about. A great place to start would be taking on board that we need to do cybersecurity because it's going to help our business to grow. Our customers, our clients will see that we take it seriously to protect their data, to protect our organization, and they feel comfortable and confident to work with us because we are doing the right things around cybersecurity. A business-led approach is a good way to do it. What do we do as a business? What data do we handle? What data do we store ourselves? What data do we process on behalf of our clients? And what are we doing to keep our crown jewels, our critical assets, our IP safe and secure? Where does that IP exist? How is it being shared, communicated, stored? And what are we doing to protect it?
Right. Cyber attackers use, you mentioned emails and I think they're called phishing with a PH, isn't it? Yeah.
That's
so they use different tactics. Before I actually get on to the next question, when I used to work in the corporate world, they gave us a workshop on what to look out for when it comes to certain emails or messages that you might get that look a bit suspect or dodgy, shall we say. Are there any top two or top three things that in an email or in a message that you might get on LinkedIn? It could be anything. But not social media, because I want to talk about social media and social engineering in a second. But specifically in emails, what are the top 2 or 3 things that we should look out for that, it is question marks if you do get it?
Absolutely. So a lot of the threats do come through email, and it targets everyone, individuals and businesses. It's very, very common. Some of the things to look out for is just be confident who the sender is. So just because of the name it might appear, it could be a brand, could be an organization that you do transact from, you do have an account with. Open up that sender's name to see what's the email address that this is coming from. Maybe type in that email address into a Google browser to see, is that a correct, valid email address that organization is using, number one. Number two, look at the content of the message. Spelling mistakes, have they got my name correct? Does it look legitimate where this is coming from? So it's important to look at, for any errors, spelling mistakes, grammar errors, things like that. Also, maintaining that vigilance and a bit of healthy paranoia around what's coming through to me and is this a legitimate request? And if you're not sure, call up that company and speak to somebody, but use a phone number that you already have for them, maybe not a phone number or a contact email address that's in the email that you've received. The thing to keep in mind is that these spam, spoofed, impersonated emails, the accuracy of them is looking more and more real as the time goes on. And that's something really important to keep in mind.
One thing that I would do, I would get an email from Amazon telling me I need to confirm some details because my parcel wasn't delivered or something. So you're right, I would click on the sender, and it's not Amazon at all. It's just name at all of these bunches of letters.com, which is the biggest telltale kind of sign that this is an email that's right. So that's one tactic that cyber attackers would use. Typically, how would they exploit then human vulnerabilities in social engineering attacks? And then what measures can be taken to mitigate such things? Sorry.
So traditionally, before sort of the explosion of the electronic world, if you think about it, one of the things that used to concern people a lot would be your mail, your post that comes from the postman or something being delivered to you being intercepted, right? That could someone be stealing my post and going through my letters and seeing my bank statements and things like that. That was one of the traditional things that was done. Or maybe you'd get, thieves that would maybe go through the trash outside because they're looking for confidential information. Now, the behaviors, if you think about it now that the criminals are using, cyber-based, is everything's electronic. So they're looking for ways to expose, to hack into computers, to find information that's now going to be electronic. So that could be via social media, for example, trying to hack into someone. We've all seen it, right, Ali? Someone's social media account, you get a message from someone and say, hey, so-and-so's Instagram's been hacked, help us to report it, or their Facebook has been hacked, Twitter, whatever it might be. But those things are happening. It doesn't just have to be individuals with a large number of followers or connections. It's happening to everyone. One of the reasons this happens is that we're not using secure passwords. And just because that tool has a minimum password complexity or number of characters doesn't mean what they're telling you is going to be sufficient. So it's really important to make sure that the passwords you're using are complex, are long, and you've set them in a sensible way. Secondly, don't use the same passwords for everything. So the threat is very much electronic, and the hacker is motivated to get access to your data. So email, social media, your browsing history, it's really important to take these things seriously.
Side note, if I get a lot of emails, because I've got an email that's basically just spammed with adverts on this and adverts on that. If I do nothing, then nothing happens?
So it's important to take steps. One thing is dedicating some time to go through your mailbox, even if it's a free account, and set up some filters so that your email is learning what senders are malicious or spoofing or spam. So more and more of that goes to your junk and goes to your spam, number one. Number two, there are some simple anti-spam, anti-phishing products out there that boost up your email security. So I would recommend people looking into those and purchasing those. Really simple stuff that helps to keep your mailbox clean. So it just makes you feel a little bit less worried and a little bit less concerned. Doesn't remove that complete requirement to make sure you're being conscious of your mailbox, and doesn't mean you can click on everything, but these products will help to add in some security measures.
Right. Okay, Zahid, we're going to take a very, very small break. When we're back, we're going to talk more about kind of the Islamic aspect of Islam and cybersecurity, but talking about Islamic communities and how they can be vigilant when it comes to cybersecurity. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Herat, Afghanistan. In a dimly lit room, a young mother despairingly kindles a lantern. Casting a warm, flickering glow across the room, her eager children await their first meal. With her limited supply of food, she prepares a simple dinner for her family. Hope, unity, and love in the face of adversity fill the air as they gather together in this fleeting moment, unaware of what tomorrow will bring.
Mommy, I'm freezing.
Me too, darling. Have some water.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Morning Baraka, exclusively on Imam Hussein TV 3. Now we're talking cybersecurity with a great friend of mine, but an expert in his field, Zahid Khimji. Zahid, you're still on the line?
I'm still here. Thank you, Ali, for having me today.
I have so many different questions. I've got a list of them, but I just, with time being of the essence, you talked about certain methods that we can use to safeguard our accounts, one of them being passwords and making sure you don't have the same password for all of the accounts. What are your thoughts on biometric authentication methods, and what does that actually mean?
Really great question. So it's important that as individuals and as businesses, we're always looking to use the innovative products out there. We've got to keep up. And, if we stand still as an organization and we don't embrace technological advancements, then that will impact our businesses and the ability for us to grow.
Yeah.
What these methods you talk about help to do is where you use, if you think about, for example, your mobile phone, you might be using, let's say, a fingerprint or eye retina activation to help unlock a device. On some laptops, you also have fingerprint activation. So these are some of the products that can use, and more the technologies are becoming advanced where these are possible things that you can set up. It's important before you activate these to make sure that you are comfortable with what the software, what the technology is going to do. So my approach to these things is, not to say no, don't do it, because it's important to make sure that security is aligned with how you want to operate, how you want to execute, how you want to act. So it's important the two things go hand in hand. But it's also good just to make sure if you're comfortable before you activate a biometric. But lots of great stuff out there, which are good things as well.
Right. So you mentioned, innovation, you mentioned keeping up to date. How do emerging technologies like AI, for example, and machine learning contribute to both cybersecurity and cyber threats? Zahid.
Yes. So what AI and machine learning and automation in robotics is doing is, of course, introducing new and evolving cyber threats. So if you think about the cyber risk landscape and what's out there, cyber criminals, hackers, everyone has different sort of motivations, perhaps even station mates. Everyone's got a different threat that they need to be concerned about as an organization. With the advancements in technologies, as we said, we've got to embrace it. We've got to be prepared for it. So yes, it does heighten the cyber risk and the threat landscape. What's important to do is work with the cyber vendors, the organizations out there who are always trying not just to keep up, but if at all possible, be ahead of what the attackers are trying to do. So it's important to make sure you've got the right cyber protection in place. Before an organization starts using anything innovative, let's say AI-driven or robotics, et cetera, I would recommend it's worth doing the research, speaking to a cyber expert, getting some advice to make sure that any new products or software they want to start using is appropriate to their business. And how can you make sure you've got some right and simple controls in place to mitigate and manage those risks as well? So my message is always, let's not be afraid of the advancements of technologies, but let's make sure we've got steps in place, we've got awareness amongst the teams that we work with of what that cyber threat is and how do we make sure that we mitigate it.
Fantastic stuff. I mean, I want to move now into more of the Islamic centers because I'm pretty sure that you've had in-depth discussions with the local mosques that you go to, and I don't know how aware our mosques are in my part of the world, but how can Islamic centers and organizations really collaborate to address the global nature of cyber threats and attacks then?
I love what you just described, Ali. And if we look over recent years and particularly, we've worked on a lot of projects together as well. And more collaboration we see, resource sharing, idea generation, etc., between our communities has to continue. Cyber has to be part of it. And there needs to be a bit of openness, between the communities that if there is an advanced or an enhanced risk out there, communities need to be comfortable to share that with each other to say, hey, we've suffered from a cyber attack or we've suffered from a data breach. I want to make sure that you're prepared for that. That could be driven by, let's say, the geopolitical or economic climate. So I think more information and resource sharing. If a community is making an investment, let's say in a cyber product, perhaps why not group together and buy multiple licenses and work together to buy and purchase those, because every organization in our community needs to make sure that they're protecting the data and safeguarding critical information.
Yeah. So, I mean, from a more personal perspective now, Zahid, given it's such it's a huge topic nowadays, and AI seems to be the way forward, or, machine learning and all these latest technology, a lot of kids are now interested in this world. Are there any career opportunities in this space?
It's massive right now, and a number of the viewers will have come across already and seen that cybersecurity is one of the areas where there's been such increased growth in recent years. There are a number of job opportunities, but the great thing about cybersecurity, Ali, is that it's interesting and a real potential career growth, career opportunity for, let's say, apprenticeships, for graduates, and it doesn't really matter what discipline or background you've come from, whether it's more sciences, it's humanities, it's business, it's computer science. You don't have to have studied IT at university or at school to go into cybersecurity. There's everything from the technical side of the topic to more around the human side. Whether someone's done psychology, it's a really fascinating area that should really attract a lot of people. I'd highly, highly recommend anyone out there, looking for a career path or even to switch careers, to look into cybersecurity. There's a lot of information online around how do you make a career transition or how do you enter cybersecurity, and all sorts of organizations, from charities to banks, multinationals. Everyone is recruiting in this topic. So I'd highly recommend it. And it's a great complement to anyone looking for something that wants to do something innovative.
Right. Great stuff. Look, in conclusion, in the minute or two that we have left, I'd love to understand from your side, what are the top 3 takeaways that you'd recommend for our viewers, especially around cybersecurity?
Wow. So to summarize, I would say as key takeaways, number 1, keep abreast of the advancements and what's going on in cybersecurity. There's a lot of news out there. It's often headline news, but you've got to go a little bit deeper. So make sure you yourself as a home user or as an organization is keeping aware of what the developments are, of what's going on in cybersecurity, number 1. Number 2, we talked about passwords. Make sure that the passwords used for systems are complex, are unique, are secure. Think about using a password manager, really cheap, cost-effective tools that can manage your passwords for you. Number 3, keep your devices, your phones, your tablets, your laptops, your desktops, keep them up to date with security updates and patches. This is good not just for the functionality and the latest tools and stuff that you can use on your devices, but also keeps the security up to date. So don't postpone those updates that are requested on your devices. Always apply the latest operating system and patches that are needed.
Great stuff. Co-founder of Click and expert in cybersecurity, Zahid Khimji, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Ali. It was great speaking to you today.
Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you a digest of the latest news affecting the Shia and wider Muslim world. Yes, News of the Week is back, and that's up next.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As we enter the depths of winter, back home in Afghanistan, the temperature is below freezing. Our brothers and sisters are suffering. While millions struggle to cope with the harsh winter, some innocent lives don't make it to the new year. Survival for families can be as simple as keeping their homes warm. At Imam Hussein Charity, we aim to provide heating fuel for an entire household. With just $150 or 135 British pounds, we can supply enough coal to burn throughout the winter months. It only takes a minute to make an impact that can last a lifetime. Donate today to protect thousands of people from the brutal cold. Visit www.imamhusseincharity.com. Thank you very much.
Welcome back, dear viewers of Morning Baraka. If you've just joined us, you've missed a fantastic discussion with Zahid Khimji, a man who is very much well-versed when it comes to cyber security. Often, when I reflect on cyber security, I feel like it's all happening up there. There's like a war online somewhere between organizations and hackers and businesses and all these cyber guys. Just everything's just happening there. And then us as the normal people just going about our normal lives, not knowing really what's going on. Sometimes you get emails, okay, that's fine. Your passwords, you have the same password for like 5 or 6 different accounts. But sometimes your details are being used without you knowing. Now, maybe is that a bad thing that your details are being used? Of course it's a bad thing. So we need to be aware, and that's why it's a massively important discussion to be had. And unfortunately, we didn't have that much time to really get into the details. But maybe that's an idea for a workshop for some of the organizations out there. Zahid Khimji, you can find him online, Instagram, and Click, KLYK. Fantastic organization. I've had 2 people from Click already. One was Asad Hamir, as well as Zahid Khimji, who both spoke absolutely amazingly when it comes to sustainability in IT and also cybersecurity. Right, moving on, we are talking about the latest news that the Shia world and the wider Muslim world has faced earlier this week, and that comes courtesy of our friends at Shia Waves. The first piece of news coming earlier this week is that Israeli attacks on the Gaza Strip have destroyed 1,000 mosques since October the 7th, according to local authorities. There are an estimated 1,200 mosques in the Gaza Strip. Now, according to the statement, a church, several administrative buildings, Quranic schools, and a bank headquarters were destroyed in the Israeli onslaught. Israel has pounded the Gaza Strip since a cross-border attack by Hamas on October the 7th, which Tel Aviv says killed nearly 1,200 people. At least 25,000 Palestinians have since been killed, mostly women and children, and 62,000 injured, according to Palestinian health authorities. Staying with Islam current affairs, a recent Boom Lives analysis has revealed that the Muslim community has been a primary target of misinformation and disinformation. Echoing the results from the previous reports, the analysis has also revealed that Muslims have been a target of fake news since 2021. The analysis, which has been published in 3 languages, stated that out of the 1,190 published fact checks, 183 fact checks targeted Muslims. Misinformation about international events ranked second, accounting for more than 17% of all fact checks. Nearly half of them were related to the Israel-Palestine war, followed by the France riots in June and July, which accounted for 8.4%, and the Russia-Ukraine war, which accounted for 4.2%. Communal false claims followed closely behind, accounting for 17% of all fact checks. Within this category, 16.3% actively promoted Islamophobia. On a lighter note, as I mentioned earlier this week, that the whole world has been celebrating the birth of the commander of the faithful, Imam Ali alayhi salam. So, in an atmosphere of joy and happiness, the Shia celebrate the birth anniversary of the Lion of God, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, peace be upon him, at his holy shrine in Najaf, Iraq. The celebrations expressed their great happiness on this occasion and offered congratulations to Imam al-Mahdi, Ajallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. Shia Muslims from all over the world gathered in Najaf al-Ashraf in Iraq to celebrate the birth anniversary of Imam Ali alayhi salam on the 13th of the blessed month of Rajab. The occasion was marked by a variety of religious ceremonies, including prayers, recitations, and celebratory ceremonies. And that was scenes from the holy shrine of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Najaf. Personally, I've been to Najaf when it is the Milad of Imam Ali alayhi salam. It is fantastic. It's like, do you know when you go to Karbala and during a kind of sad season, so Arba'in, so everyone is like, it's all red and black and everyone is giving out food and there's a very solemn but an electric atmosphere. When it comes to Mawalid in Karbala and Najaf, so when it comes to the births of the Imams in Karbala and Najaf, specifically Imam Ali alayhi salam and Eid al-Ghadir, and now we're coming on to the Sha'ban season, which is the kind of the happy season of the Shia world, in the next couple of weeks, it is the total opposite. So it's all green, yellow and white, and everyone's giving out sweets, and they're still giving out food, but everyone's genuinely very, very happy, especially to welcome all the Zuwar. So it's a very, very great atmosphere. It's a massively, well, it's an amazing atmosphere that you, inshallah, would be able to experience one day. Now, moving on, we are moving to On This Day. And on this day, today we're talking about the death of the Abbasid Caliph, Al-Mu'tamid. Abu al-Abbas Ahmad ibn Ja'far, better known as the so-called Al-Mu'tamid, which is basically Al-Mu'tamid ala Allah. And I say so-called because I don't think these guys were ever dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, he was the Caliph of the Abbasid Caliphate from 870 to 892. His reign marks the end of the anarchy of Samarra and the start of the Abbasid restoration, but he was largely a ruler in name only. Power was held by his brother Al-Muwaffaq, who held the loyalty of the military. Al-Mu'tamid authority was essentially, diluted further after a failed attempt to flee the domains controlled by Ahmed ibn Tulun in late 882, and he was placed under house arrest by his brother in 891. When Al-Muwaffaq died, loyalists attempted to restore power to the caliph, but were quickly overcome by Al-Muwaffaq's son, Al-Mu'tadid, who assumed his father's powers. Now, according to Hugh Kennedy, Al-Mu'tamid's death was apparently as a result of an excess in drink and food, which is pretty much, it's pretty much, I guess, explanatory of the family of the Abbasid Caliphate. Pretty much all of them died either by their brothers killing them, or their family relatives killing them, or they were excess in food and drink. And that was on this day, the death of the Abbasid Caliph Al-Mu'tamid. So we're drawing towards the end of our program now, and it was mentioned in the news, or the news of the week, that we are sending our celebration to or sending our thoughts and celebrations when it comes to Imam Ali alayhi salam to his grandson Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. There was a link, because I've heard in the narrations, and correct me if I'm wrong, people, especially in the comments, I've heard in the narrations that when the Imam was to return, or is to return, Imam al-Mahdi ajallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, he will be holding the sword of Dhul Fiqar. So the link between Imam Ali alayhi salam and Imam Mahdi is that Imam Mahdi, when he comes, first of all, he will call out Ya Litharat al-Hussein, so I'm here to avenge the killing of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, but he'll be holding the sword of Dhul Fiqar, the sword of his great-grandfather, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. On a day like this, it is Friday, so we definitely need to remember the Imam of our time, Imam al-Mahdi ajallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, the Imam who is waiting for us rather than us waiting for him. So inshallah, on a day like this, we'll be able to connect to the Imam through the supplication of allegiance, Dua al-Ahad. Supplication of allegiance is a fantastic dua where it really gives you a step-by-step guide in how to connect to the Imam of your time. If you might be confused and think, well, how do I do it? What do I do? Do I just speak to the Imam? How do I connect to the Imam? One of these du'as is a fantastic way to be able to connect to the Imam of our time. There are certain words that describe your relationship with the Imam, what you want from him, what he wants from us. So don't forget Dua Nudbah, but also Dua Lahad, the supplication of allegiance. So I leave you, inshallah, as always, when it comes to Morning Baraka. Do get in touch, hashtag Morning Baraka, that's on Instagram or Twitter, wherever you want to go. Inshallah, we can read out some of your comments. But when it comes to this program, I leave you as always. Allah, please make the beginning of this day of mine righteousness, its middle prosperity, and its end success. We end with Dua al-Ahad, the supplication of allegiance. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم رب النور العظيم ورب الكرسي الرفيع ورب البحر المسجور ومنزل التوراة والإنجيل والزبور ورب الظل والحرور ومنزل القرآن العظيم ورب الملائكة المقربين والأنبياء والمرسلين. اللهم إني أسألك بوجهك الكريم وبنور وجهك المنير وملكك القديم يا حي يا قيوم أسألك باسمك الذي أشرقت به السماوات والأرضون، وباسمك الذي يصلح به الأولون والآخرون، يا حيا قبل كل حي، ويا حيا بعد كل حي، ويا حيا حين لا حي، يا محيي الموتى ومميت الأحياء، يا حي لا إله إلا أنت. اللهم بلغ مولانا الإمام الهادي المهدي القائم بأمرك صلوات الله عليه وعلى آبائه الطاهرين، عن جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها، سهلها وجبلها وبرها وبحرها، وعني وعن والدي من الصلوات زنة عرش الله ومداد كلماته، وما أحصاه علمه وأحاط به كتابه. اللهم إني أجدد له في صبيحة يومي هذا، وما عشت من أيامي عهدا وعقدا وبيعة له في عنقي، لا أحول عنها ولا أزول أبدا. اللهم اجعلني من أنصاره وأعوانه والذابين عنه والمسارعين إليه في قضاء حوائجهم والممتثلين لأوامره والمحامين عنه والسابقين إلى إرادته والمستشهدين بين يديه. اللهم إن حال بيني وبينه الموت الذي جعلته على عبادك حتما مقضيا فأخرجني من قبري مؤتزرا كفني شاهرا سيفي مجردا قناتي ملبيا دعوة الداعي في الحاضر والبادي اللهم أرني الطلعة الرشيدة والغرة الحميدة واكحل ناظري بنظرة مني إلي وعجل فرجه وسهل مخرجه وأوسع منهجه واسلك بي محجته وأنفذ أمره واشدود أزره واعمر اللهم به بلادك وأحيي به عبادك فإنك قلت وقولك الحق ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس فأظهر اللهم لنا وليك وابن بنت نبيك المسمى باسمك ورسولك حتى لا يظفر بشيء من الباطل إلا مزقه ويحق الحق ويحققه واجعله اللهم مفزعا لمظلوم عبادك وناصرا لمن لا يجد له ناصرا غيرك ومجددا لما عطل من أحكام كتابك ومشيدا لما ورد من أعلام دينك وسنن نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله واجعله اللهم ممن حصنته من بأس المعتدين اللهم وسر نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وآله برؤيته ومن تبعه على دعوته وارحم استكانتنا بعده اللهم اكشف هذه الغمة عن هذه الأمة بحضوره وعجل لنا ظهوره إنهم يرونه بعيدا ونراه قريبا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. العجل العجل يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان. العجل العجل يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان. العجل العجل يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان. اللهم عجل وقرب في فرج مولانا صاحب الزمان يا الله. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
I ask you all to support Imam Hussein TV for the future of your youth, for the future of Shiaism. Every single person's life is dependent on your education, and Imam Hussein TV provides you a free Islamic education.
If you want to have good programs, if you want to have a source to help your community, your children, your families, do not hesitate. This is the month of rewarding. This is the month of istighfar, the month of khayrat.
Imam Hussein is a name that unites us all, and this is the one area where we can put aside our differences and come together. I hope that the viewers at home will help donate to the channel and to build a platform for the future generations.
I stand here before you, my dear brothers and sisters, to invite one and all to donate generously to ensure that the message of Ahlul Bayt ﷺ is kept alive.
Beautiful programs we have. One of that program is Shia Voice. The Shia Voice try to bring up talented from east, from west, from north, from south. But to show this, to make this program, it needs your donation. Your generous donation, please help. Please support Imam Hussein TV.
We need your generous support. With your support, there could be more documentaries. With your support, there could be more programs. With your support, Shia Voice may come to your community. We cannot continue this without your generous donations. In this holy month of Ramadan, a month of charity, a month of giving, a month of generosity, come together, join us on Imam Hussein TV and generously donate as you always have done, so we may continue to provide programs which serve